Sup, y'all? It's me. It's your boy Asmongold, and today I wanted to show you guys how artifact power and artifact knowledge are going to be scaling in patch 7.2, and use those numbers to create a timeline of events on how long it's going to take for you to actually reach AK 50 if you start at 25 and you never miss a single day throughout the whole patch. TLDR, it's going to be 4 months, pretty much exactly 4 months. Also, I wanted to show you guys how long it's going to be taking for you to max out your weapon. TLDR on that, never. So basically what I'm going to be looking at here is a chart that was created by Zagam on Mal'Ganis from the Guild Monster. Thank you very much, dude. I was actually really curious about this myself, so I'm really glad somebody put the time in to create a spreadsheet and actually show people what the numbers are going to be. Saw this on Reddit earlier, so I wanted to share it with you guys and kind of illuminate, I guess, how long this is going to take and the different levels of time gating that are going to occur. Another thing that I want to say before I get into it is the obvious thing: this is still on PTR, right? The patch doesn't come out until tomorrow, so you never know what could happen, but I'm going to pretty much assume this is what we're going to see. So we're going to be looking right here. We're going to first start at AK, right? So the first AK level, the AK-26, if you start at AK-25, AK-26 is available on day 1 after you finish up all the quests, and that takes you from 25,000% all the way up to 100%, okay? Or sorry, 100,000%. So that's obviously a quadruple multiplier, 400%, so that's a huge amount. Then after that, you pretty much just do them every 5 days, pretty much, and this is not accounting for any sort of catch-up mechanisms or any changes that they can make later on. And if you just keep going and, you know, just doing this every day, every week, or whatever you want to do, by May 12th, 2017, your AK percentage is going to be 1,080,000. That's a big number. Okay, but that ain't shit, dude, because on June 26, 2017, it's going to be 11,000,000. Yes, 11,430,000%. All right. Then I'm sorry. On July 26th, this is AK-50. 55 million. 55 million, that's a big number. Oh, and there's 200,000 too added on. It's a little bonus there. So as you guys can see, I mean, you're probably thinking right now, oh man, I got this dick, you know, I'm just going to wait until then. I'm going to just, you know, do like 3, time walking dungeons, or I'm going to collect a treasure in Suramar, and I'm going to cap out my Concordance of the Legion Fall. It's not going to happen. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how the AP scaling is going to work. Now, if you log on patch day and you've already got 54 traits, you're going to immediately get 39, and then it's going to take a consecutive 34, I believe. That's how it works. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's 34 million if you start at 54 in order to get to your 4th golden trait, and then it will take 1.6 billion AP from there in order to get to your first concordance trait. And so after you basically max out everything else, because after you I think it's first after you put in the second in like the next like circle right there for the new AP traits, after you click the first one, it adds another level to all of the other ones you can click. I don't know really when you can do that, but you have to click all of those. You have to max all of them out to 4, and then after you do all of that, you're able to click your concordance, I guess like the concordance trait there, and that's going to be your 50-second traits. Now, Concordance of the Legion Fall goes up to, there's 50 levels of it, okay? So you're sitting there like, okay, I got 55 million, this is going to be easy. The last Concordance of the Legion Fall trait, okay? And I apologize if I'm missing some zeros, but at a certain point, it doesn't even fucking matter. So I think that there's 3, and then that's 1,000, and then there's 1,000,000, and then a billion, and then a trillion, and then I think there's another one. It's a quadrillion, and I think I might still be missing some fucking zeros. Okay, the amount of AP that you need to get the last trait of Concordance of the Legion Fall is more health than a Diablo 3 boss has on a Greater Rift 100. Okay. It's fucking insane. And actually, I don't even know if that's true, but there's a lot for both of them, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. So still, let's go ahead and just put this into perspective with how much AP you're actually going to be getting. So obviously, we're going to be using the numbers that you guys are probably used to right now, because you're probably AK-25. So if you get a mythic accolade of mythic achievement, or whatever the fuck it's called, it gives you 150,000, right? Whenever patch day comes out, obviously at 26, that's AK 25. 26 is going to give you 600,000. So at AK 40, let's say it's going to give you 24 million, and at AK 50, it's going to give you 331 million. That's a big number. That's a really, really big number. So obviously, if you just wait, it's going to be kind of like how it is now. If you have AK 25 right now and you're starting a new weapon, like you go up to trait 25 in like one accolade. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, obviously the first traits are going to be very easy to get. And even going up to Concordance of the Legion Fall is going to be very, very easy if you're probably doing this anywhere near, probably by the time that I would say, so let me kind of give you guys a timeline on how long I think it's going to take everybody to actually reach these different benchmarks. So on the first week, I'm pretty sure a couple of people are just going to completely no-life it and actually get to their 4th golden trait. But I would assume that the majority of the more hardcore player base are going to get their 4th golden trait on the 2nd week of patch 7.2. So somewhere around AK 27 or 28, somewhere around there, getting your 4th golden trait is going to be no big deal. And I would say by the 4th week, it will become kind of expected in all guilds for you to actually have that trait. Now, by the time that Concordance comes out, I wouldn't say that you'd really expect to have people getting Concordance of the Legion Fall until maybe somewhere around June. I wouldn't really expect to see anybody getting it until about then. Now, obviously, you're going to need to, like, there are going to be some people that are going to get it before then. But I would say by the time that it's July, if you still don't have it by then, that's where it's going to probably become kind of it's going to be more of a barrier to entry than necessarily a reward. And as, of course, like, things scale up, and if by the time that it is, like, AK-50, and they add more traits, or they add, like, more scaling, obviously the expectations will increase. So my personal opinion about this is that I can see both sides to this. I really can. And usually you can always see both sides, but you just think one of them's stupid as hell. But I can see what they're trying to do, and I think that it makes sense. But I think protecting players from themselves is a fool's endeavor. Now, on top of that, I think that for the most part, a lot of people have put out a certain level, because I'm not going to get into that yet, actually. I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically what Blizzard, they don't want people farming artifact power, right? And so their goal with artifact power, my understanding for it, is that their goal is for it to just be a consistent reward that you always get by just playing the game, right? So it's not something that you really log on and work on in the same way that it was in now. Like before 7.2, that you would work on getting your artifact power up because of how important it was for your damage. But obviously with Concordance of the Legion Fall, it's not really quite as strong. So it's understandable that obviously people won't feel compelled in the same level. But obviously as time goes on, players and guilds and groups and everything will start to require people to have more of these traits. And if you don't have more of those traits, you will be declined because of them. It's going to be the same thing as like the Warlords of Draenor ring, right? So whenever the first week came out and people first started getting it, it was not a requirement to raid. And then as time went on, it became more and more of a requirement, and at a certain point, if you didn't have the ring, you weren't getting into a guild. So this is something that's going to be happening with any sort of system like this, and it will always encourage people to grind. But I feel like with the way that AK scales, that this is, even though the numbers aren't necessarily elegant, I think this is I think it will accomplish their goal. Okay, I don't really think that is necessarily the best goal that they could have, but if that's their goal, I think this is going to take them in the right direction. Now, I also want to respond to a couple of criticisms or comments that people have made about my input on the system, right? And also other people's input. Basically, they say that well, why would you basically, all right, let me explain why people are kind of frustrated. Okay, basically they feel like all you have to do is just wait for 5 days, and then something that you were going to do becomes 25% easier, and that just keeps happening over and over and over. So it creates like this psychology effect of futility, right? So why am I going to just go do and farm out mythic dungeons over and over and over if I'm just basically wasting my time? And I think what this is really trying to do is remove AK from actually being the primary goal from doing any sort of farming, right? Unless you're like very close to your next trait, and it's very important. But besides that, I think they're trying to remove AK and AP from actually being the goal of farming. And I don't really know how this is going to work. I have no idea, but I think it's probably going to be, maybe, I don't like the unlimited nature of the Concordance of the Legion Fall, the seemingly unlimited nature of it. It is limited. It's just limited at like 5 pentillion or something like that, or four. I think it's like 400 quadrillion actually. Excuse me. But anyway, I feel like, I mean, for the most part, that's not really the worst thing ever. But at the same time, I don't really like it a whole lot. But everything leading up to Concordance of the Legion Fall, and if you could actually cap it out at some point, I would say that would be it would be a good system. So I think that in a way, it's just kind of like one of those things that kind of keeps players together, and it's like more, in a way, it's like kind of like video game socialism, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I don't really think it incentivizes people to play a lot, and in some ways, people feel like they're incentivized not to play because all they have to do is just wait for less than a week, and they're going to, just get scaled up, and all of their time that they spent will be 25% more efficient, right? So for people who don't really want to waste time, okay, and I know this sounds kind of silly because we're talking about a video game, but even in a video game, people do value their time. It's like, that's why you farm world quests and not bears in Elwyn Forest, okay? Like, obviously people do things that are going to advance their character, and they want to do that in the most efficient way possible. It's just human nature. So people feel like it's kind of, at least for me personally, I feel like it's kind of futile because you're just waiting and waiting and waiting until you finally get to that next level, and then you can get a little bit further, but then you can't really do anything else. I'd rather quit on finishing something rather than quit out of apathy, right? A lot of people have said that, why wouldn't you just wait until the next expansion, and then you can just solo all the raids now? Wouldn't that make sense? There's a certain level of context and nuance that's going on here that I think is lost by a number of people. We're not talking about the difference between a month or a few months or a year. We're talking about the difference between less than a week, right? It's like if you're doing Battlegrounds a lot, or you want to farm honor, and you know that the honor weekend or Battleground weekend is coming up, you're probably just going to say, well, I'll wait till then, and then I'll probably do a lot of them. Or let's say you're trying to level up your battle pets, and you see that the battle pet weekly thing is coming up pretty soon, and why wouldn't you just wait for that, right? It just kind of makes sense that you would wait for something so you can optimize and maximize your time. And whenever it's just consistently, it kind of degrades in a way like your time, over time, because the AK scales up, I don't really know if that's going to make players feel good and feel like their time is really well spent. I think the worst thing for a player to feel in a video game is to feel like they're actually wasting their time. And I feel like the way that the scaling works, and whenever people get an idea of the scope of how the scaling works, and basically how long it will take to actually get ahead of other people, it's going to incentivize people to just not even care, which I don't think is a good thing. And it will also make people feel like they are wasting their time. Now, if it does actually, if the system does actually create its goal, which is to make people not really care about artifact power other than like a little bonus reward, oh cool, or whatever, then maybe it could work. But I'm very skeptical about that, so we'll see what happens. Another example I could use is like, let's say you're trying to buy an Xbox, okay? You want a new DVD player, because let's be honest, there's not really a lot of good games for Xbox. So you want a new DVD player, it's $300. And you go to, it's Monday, you go to the mailbox, and Walmart sent you a circular, and it's like Xboxes are going to be 25% off on the weekend. And so obviously, it's like you'd be an idiot not to wait until the weekend to start to go buy an Xbox, right? Unless you really, really need one, or you're Bill Gates or something. But also, it would also be a little bit silly, unless you're really strapped for cash, to wait all the way until like Black Friday or something to get an Xbox at 50% off. So what I'm saying is that people's complaints with the AK system, I think it just makes people feel like they're wasting their time a little bit. And I feel like that's kind of the way that I would feel. But if it does actually achieve the goal of making people feel like AK is not the primary reward for doing content, then I think this system is going to work very well. Aside from being from a completionist perspective, I always like to be done with things. And so like having something that I'm not completely leveled up at kind of sucks. But besides that, I think it could be a good system. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got to say. I wanted to share that with you, and just so you guys can see pretty much what to expect and what to look forward to in patch 7.2. I'm going to be kind of curious to see how people respond to this, especially once people start actually getting their concordance traits and they realize how high the scaling is going to be. I think we haven't really seen anything like this in the game, but there obviously are a lot of things like this in Diablo 3. So, we'll see. Anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys think, but that's pretty much all I've got. So, thank you very much for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe.